Okay, item 10, corporate finance report. Di. Resolution 2, but I want
We should start introducing.
on the treasurer. Yeah. Hello. Right, away you go, Di.
Right, good morning. Could I just start, please? And good morning, councillors, by introducing Brett Hales, whom you may not have seen before. He's the manager of transactions, and he's here to talk about the debtors. It's the work that was previously done by Paul Kagenman.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Great, yep. Well, I don't have anything particularly to bring to your attention other than just letting the report stand, but perhaps while everyone just focuses their minds on the report again, I will point out that we are in the process of moving from having 100 million of committed undrawn bank facility to having 200 million. And this just basically, it's kind of like emergency, backup borrowing ability from banks. And that will improve our liquidity position, which is one important criteria that Standard & Poor's will look at when assessing our credit rating. Other than that, I'm just essentially just happy to take questions from anyone, and I don't know whether Brett has anything in particular to draw to your attention.
Just on the non-rates debtors, we're down about 2.8 million from our last quarter, March 31, and we've got about 33k of bad debt written off in the quarter. That's probably the pertinent points.
Okay. And in terms of the rates, debtors, how's that tracking?
Okay. At 30 June, our rates debtors are 13.9 million, and at June 2018, we were 12.6, so it's a pretty consistent sort of trend to last year and the year before at 30 June. We've done some work on reducing some of our old arrears, so we've come down 664k over the quarter. Probably it.
Okay. Any questions? Glenn?
Yes, just how are we getting on with that Lynn's trade debt? 3.7.
I can talk to that. I believe the Lynn's trade debt was settled as part of the global settlement, and so that should disappear anytime soon.
Okay. Phil?
Thank you. Earlier, Di and I was asking about deliverability, but in this case, I just see that there's reference to borrowing money on our page 45, 39 million for tax for housing and V-Base and Milton Street property. So and when I looked at the chart though, in terms of the amount of funding of money we're borrowing for this coming year, 2020, it's actually relatively low. So I guess subject to deliverability, I'm sure Bruce would have some comments about that too. But could we, especially with interest rates being particularly low, and I understand a record low just about at the moment, could we potentially borrow more money this coming year to actually get in and build more housing?
I mean, obviously, potentially you could, but is it in the plan? Excuse me asking that, but is it in the plan, or is this part of what you're talking about with the trust?
It is really as to whether it could be potentially included in the plan, but also I guess as long as we didn't exceed our debt levels too.
The issue is not exceeding debt levels. The issue is just is the annual plan process, and if it's the work you're doing in conjunction with the trust, we are working through with them on their documentation. So I'm happy to look at it and perhaps talk to you outside of this meeting to better understand what you're asking.
That could be very helpful, Diane. Thank you, because I'd be interested to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly is possible. I mean, what would be good is if the $30 million loan that's out at the moment is used and demonstrated that it's working well. Should make it a lot easier to come back for more money. Yeah. And as far as I know, I mean, we've certainly approved the documentation in terms of the loan documentation. I'm not sure where it is.
Yes, and that's what I would want to better understand. I know that Len has been working with the trust and with other members of the staff on that, and so it's, as I said, I see it more as a process issue than a treasury issue,
Right.
but I'm more than happy to follow it up.
Thanks, Diane, and Glenn will too, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, and now, Di, in terms of the Treasury, I've requested a workshop here just because I think there's a broader conversation to have as we really are coming out of a period where we've been fully hedged and we're going into a slightly different period now. And I think it's worth sitting down with councillors and just discussing the policy and the strategy from here. So I'll find a time in the calendar for a broader conversation around that.
Okay, by all means, you'll notice we're out of the period where we were overhedged.
Yes.
And that's good to see.
Yeah, no, it is. Okay. All right. I'm happy to move this report. Seconded Andrew. Any debate? I'll put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against,